Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Mean Green Nation podcast. Welcome to it.
Recording in progress.
What you don't know, I guess maybe if you're watching the video version, which we're now recording, is that Aldo's trying to get set up. Like every week, Aldo spends approximately 3 hours trying to remember how to use a computer. It's behind the scenes, you know. Like everybody does it behind the scenes, and like an oral history, like pretty much immediately after things happen. You notice that now? They're like, "Hey, we just came out with this movie. Here's the oral history of us recording this movie." Like, wasn't that just yesterday? You get yes, and also here's an oral history of the behind the scenes, which is happening right now.
Well, I use an iPad at work for everything, and so going to a combo PC and laptop is a little on the overwhelming side.
Look at this guy. Yeah, he's fancy dude. He's like Eric Morris on the sideline there, you know, like just checking things out. Folks, the good news. I'll tell you the good news right now. 35-20 winners over Steve Austin. That's what I like to call him. Steve Austin University, there from Nacogdoches, Texas. Now, here's the thing, right? Like their coach, he kind of knew what was the deal was going to be, right? You know, he said as much. I thought it was refreshing to hear him say that. They quoted him on the broadcast, but he was like during the week, like, look, we were the windshield, and North American, which we all kind of made fun of, we're the bug. It was fun to be the windshield versus the bug. Now we're gonna play a team that's better than us, and we're gonna see if we just can't put a crack in their windshield, right? That's a smart way to approach it. You let your team know, like, hey, look, top to bottom, like 185, like we go 1 to 65 right here in FCS. Um, we're not as good as them, and that's fine. But we can beat them on a day, or we can make some things happen. And then they were aggressive and all that other good stuff. Um, North Texas won. Nobody feels good about it. We mentioned last week, and I wrote on the various previews and things, um, that sometimes you get a win, right? You're like, 500 yards, but then you felt like the offense didn't do well. Today, or yesterday, being specific, was one of those deals where 500 was at 505, 504 yards total offense, 322 passing, 4 touchdowns for Chandler Morris, but none of that felt good. Like, you kind of felt like, that we couldn't get out of our own way.
Yeah, it just felt like the most I don't know, not necessarily unsuccessful, but the weirdest four touchdown performance that I've ever seen.
Yeah, and so like you feel, um I don't want to say bad about it, but I don't want to apologize for wins. We got to win. And you kind of see what some other teams have felt like week one. I mentioned how a lot of teams played FCS squads, and it was not that impressive. North Texas played an FBS squad last week, South Alabama, and I felt like that was a more impressive win. This was an unimpressive win. Like, we're gonna call them out. We got to be honest and be be fair.
It was stressful and uneasy. Like after we won, I didn't feel good.
Yeah.
Like it felt like after SF or after South Alabama, and I think part of it seemed like everything was going right last week, and then this week everything was going wrong, but we still were able to supersede them and come out with a win.
Yeah, we said right last week. Chandler Morris threw for, was it? I want to say 400 or
10,000
something.
yards, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, it was approximately that many yards. Well, it was at 415 yards, 3 scores. Had a ridiculous rating. He was very good, 32 of 41, very good last week. This week, stat line 26 of 44, which is 59% completion rating. Last week it was like in the 70s, like 78 or something like that. 322 passing, 4 scores, 3 interceptions. And he started the game by throwing an interception in our own territory. Eric Morris wanted the ball first, which I thought was a little bold. Usually you kick it, right? You take the ball second half. You start out with the defense. But I felt like he was saying, hey, we got a nice student section here. let's start off with the show. They want to see offense. We'll come out with the offense. We want the ball. We're gonna do our thing. But quickly, it was like sack, 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 or it was almost sack, and then got called back. But Morris throws an interception. We tried that little RPO, the one that was so successful throwing to Damon Ward last week. He had 12 catches, 230 yards last week. This week it was one catch, I think. Yeah, one catch, 16 yards. He was targeted 4 times. One was an outright drop. Right? He just completely drops it. But all told, not good. Chandler Morris could not run that RPO. That stuff was getting. I don't know if it was scouted well by SFA. Uh, Credit to them, they kept their eyes in the right place. The whole thing is that you're supposed to key on a guy, and when he steps up, you throw it behind his head. They were faking the rush, bluffing that, stepping back, and then they were right in the window. And I think Morris threw two like that. His third was just a terrible throw behind. He had Oscar Hammond. This is the second half, Oscar Hammond, but he threw it behind him. And then he nearly threw a fourth on a little like HB, wheel route looking thing, a rail route, whatever you want to call it. He threw it to Harris, and the SFA dude nearly picked it off. So just a terrible game from Chandler Morris. But I wish all my terrible games were 322-yard, 4 touchdown performances. Also, so whatever. You take what you get. He did throw a 51-yard TD strike to Sheffield. He threw 3 to Sheffield in the first half, and then 1 to Hammond in the second. So not bad for a bad game.
Yeah, and all told, the SFA offense was able to score 10 points outright on their own, and then 10 points from off of turnovers. So I felt that was another nice point. I know we're jumping around between offense and defense, but it was even when the offense was making mistakes, the defense was able to overcome that and help out and show that they're still an FBS defense against FCS offense. One thing that I wanted to point out with Chandler Morse's good bad performance, happy sad performance was that he had 10 receivers
Again, yeah, that's
catching passes.
2 weeks in a row. So to your point, right? Like I was gonna get to the defensive level, but you want to open your Christmas presents early. That's fine. The defense was amazing in this one, and I was saying, look, if we play the way we could play, right? North Texas played the way they played last week against South Alabama. Chandler Morris doing well, everybody executing. Then I think they could put up 60 points, right? You can smell that a little bit in this game, right? Sheffield getting wide open. Sides, Landon Sides made an appearance. He had 47 yards. When it was open, it was wide open, and Morris was missing some wide open dudes, little out routes here, little things there. Demaja Harris, nominally the third string running back, but he got promoted. We'll talk about the injuries in a second. But it was there, right? You could see that this offense could score when it wanted to. They put they put the brakes on in the fourth quarter. They could have ran it to score, added another touchdown. It could have been 42. It could have easily been 60 or 70 if they were on their game. Like, it was schemed up right, mostly executed right, but you see how much is on the quarterback, right? Quarterback's not finding his dudes, missing here and there, and, drives their stop. But the defense, I felt this way too. I felt that the defense played well versus South Alabama in key moments, right? Everybody was like, well, 582 yards allowed. Yes, yes, yes. All that is true. But South Alabama's a good offense. If you look at what they did in key moments, that second half against South Alabama, 3 key stops, forcing forcing a punt, getting the ball back to North Texas offense, and then, we took the lead, never looked back. This time, right, Morris throws an interception deep in our own territory. They forced him the field goal. At one point, it was 3-0, or it was like 7-3 North Texas, right? And we had like 150 yards of offense, and they had negative 12, right? That was it. Like, their offense at one point had like negative 17 yards and 3 points. So you're saying they had a field goal drive of negative 12 yards. Normally, if you get the ball anywhere on the field, you lose 12 yards. You're not able to kick a field goal, right? That's just a turnover. And then their other touchdown came on a pick six. Morris throws it, interception over the middle. Their linebacker breaks some tackles, touchdown. Stephen F. Austin, Lumberjacks. And so then, there's 10 points gifted. All to your point there. That was the end of the first quarter. It was 14-10 North Texas. We had 140 pass yards. They had 13, at this point. They had a net 2 yards rushing, and we had 47 yards rushing. Like, it was over. And I think if you look at the scoring drive, right? Like North Texas, we end up with 21 points in the first half. That was it. That 21st point was a game-winning point. SFA had a one long touchdown drive in the second quarter, a field goal drive in the third quarter, but that was it.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a win, right? We took care of business. It was shaky, but we got it done. We won by 2 scores, and we should be happy about it. But I don't know why I feel this way. Um, and it's and from a different perspective, Morris is a gunslinger, and they said so on the broadcast. I really enjoyed listening to the Doc Holliday on the broadcast. Um, he's a gunslinger, starting around all over the place, and he's not afraid to back down. Which was amazing last week, right? He was on point, everything was working out. But this week he was, running around. The offensive line wasn't giving him too much time, and so he was having a scramble, throw off platform, all that stuff, leading to a lot of his passes being off, but enough to be intercepted. So I get it, I understand it. I hope they don't change philosophy. I hope they let him keep slinging the ball around. Just give it a little bit more oomph because I think they were all short, right? They were all
Um,
a couple of yards short
a
or a couple of
couple
yards
short, a couple
off.
were off, and I mean, when you're a gunslinger, right, and you're just using your arm to do things, like that's the whole reason why you stay on platform and you you follow your technique, so that you have consistency. Um, I thought it was Reed's the first couple interceptions, and then you look at everything else, right? Let's talk about the offensive line. So you lose your center, who is your backup center, right? He's a freshman backup center. He like broke his wrist or something like that. Had a wrist. I don't know. They don't say officially what it was, but he hurt his wrist, so he's out. And so then, um, you have a converted center, right? A guard, Dixon the third, playing center, and that caused all kinds of problems, right? North Texas had 15 penalties, 122 yards. The refs were challenging and reviewing everything all night. It was ridiculous. But like was it 10? I posted this on last night. I think like 10 of them were like offensive line related. It was like holdings, false starts, personal foul, stuff like that. And the false starts were like the whole offense, which tells you it's something wrong with the snapper. And again, he's a guard playing center, right? It was supposed to be Mercer. We don't have Jet Duncan. He hasn't played all season. And then your right guard is so he's a backup because we lose the guard, right? Landon Peterson, he goes out. He had like a shoulder thing, so he goes out like first second drive, whatever it was. So you have a freshman playing over there. Lots of new guys, new places, new faces, new places, right? It's a patchwork offensive line. We're down. Was it 3 linemen now, right? A center, 2 centers, and a guard. That's what we're down.
And playing out of position, down 3 linemen and several, or at least one of them playing out of position.
Yeah. And so then, because you even say like Gabe Blair, he probably would be a starter, but then you put Peterson there, so you're like, it's not too much of a drop off because he could probably be a starter. But yeah, so then you have freshman right guard, the backup freshman right guard. You have a guard playing center, and you're 3 down there in the center position. So all of that was shaky, and it contributed, I think, to the pass rush issues we saw. Right, immediately SFA was just bringing pressure, and they got to Chandler Morris. I think that maybe threw him off a little bit. Um, there, but it wasn't just that, right? Because we had guys that played like, was it Michael Lee, the number 58 left tackle? He got absolutely destroyed. It looked uh, every week. I think you know what, college football 25, maybe it is a realistic game. Because sometimes you're like, man, that won't happen. And then you
Yeah,
watch and you
yeah.
watch college football on Saturdays. You're like, oh man, maybe the game is too conservative because That was
Yeah, he's the
ridiculous
one
to
that is
me.
supposed to get pancakes, and he was just getting pancaked
Well, is it
several times
number 26? Was it like Onyewu or something like that? Dude from Baylor transfer.
from Baylor trans. Yeah.
Yeah, he like rocketed out of his stance, blew him up. Leeds like stumbled back, fell over, and then he went and sacked the quarterback. Like that was just like what the guy was just like immediately apologizing as he was flying back. It's a terrible feeling. We've talked about this before in the show where like I try to have some grace because if anybody ever played in a little football and you ever met somebody that just was more powerful than you, that's like the worst feeling. You're just like, well,
Yeah.
I had
It's like
nothing.
that.
I couldn't do anything about that.
It's like one of those moments you're just paused and the narrator comes on and
hmm
you might be asking how I find myself in this situation,
Yeah,
and then the show goes on.
yeah. It's a humbling thing. I think is why football is great. But you should play a little football once or twice because I think it gives you some perspective. Maybe you're out there talking a lot of minutes, like, oh, you gotta find that guy. Like, really, if you ever try to stay with somebody that's just quicker than you, that you almost can't see move because they're so fast, you're like, I swear he was right here, and I looked that way. And now he's not. He's 15 yards that way. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah,
I
coming
don't
at me
know.
like a
Hmm.
sidewinder.
Yeah. So it was hilarious from a football perspective. It's hilarious from a North Texas fan perspective. Bad, but whatever. That has a lot to do with it. And so I'm gonna peek ahead a little bit. And we're on a condensed schedule right now. Everybody's busy. Right? They got these little gray hairs right here. Here, everybody got stuff going on. Um, everybody's looking forward to next week, right? Hey, Texas Tech doesn't look real good. They got whooped up by Washington State. Um, ACU, it's Abilene Christian for you folks not in the know. They put up 500 yards and they went to overtime, and Texas Tech won 52-51. I think North Texas can probably do something over there in Lubbock, right? Well, yeah. This game, our game here today against SFA, probably put a little humble pie back on our menu this week. I don't think anybody's gonna be talking a whole lot of mess, and I don't think we can, right? That offense, everything's on the offensive line. I was reading today this
Yeah,
morning about Colorado State's offensive line issues. They have a great receiving core, whatever, but they can't block anybody. And Shadur Sanders is getting, killed over there, and they can't run the ball. So
yeah. If we do walk in with the same line, it's gonna be a problem. We won't be able to make the same noise that ACU did. Um, I played this against Texas Tech on Heisman difficulty,
yeah,
and I tell you what, it's not easy. And I didn't have anybody injured.
yeah. So in the Mean Green Nation dynasty I was doing, I beat Texas Tech. I won these first two games, but I had a hard time with with fake SFA. Like I was like, how is this happening? I think I threw some interceptions. So I feel you. Video game more. I feel you. What was I gonna say? Uh, I don't know. Reports were that Jet Duncan was warming up. He was dressed, and they might have kept him out as a precaution. I don't know.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, it seemed could have been because they thought it would be unnecessary to play him in against an FCS squad.
yeah. Uh, but injuries are taking a toll, and you look at the other one, the running back room. It started out with Juwan Price. He started the game. Ragsdale had only 8 carries, but both of those guys left injured. Right. Price was doing well. He had 45 yards on the ground. He's averaging 6.4 yards a pop. He caught a pass. He after last week, he seemed like a guy you want to get the ball to. Right. He ran. He did kick returns at his last school. It was like New Mexico State or whatever. He looked good doing that. He had a 50-yard return, and then he goes out on the sideline. He grabs his ankle, and you can see like a brief frame of something weird happening there. But it was nothing looking crazy. It just looked like he hurt it. SFA staff comes over. They immediately put a towel over his leg. They call over the North Texas staff. Ambulance comes out. He has an air cast or whatever. And then he calls over his team before he gets put back in the ambulance, and they all come over and they kind of rally around him. Uh, my guesstimate is that looks like a compound fracture, like
Hmm.
something bad, and that it's gonna be the end of the season, and maybe his career.
Could,
I don't know if he's gonna come
yeah,
back.
could be
Yeah,
career
yeah,
ending.
yeah.
He's a senior.
yeah, it there's question marks there. Yeah, I don't know if he's gonna want to do the rehab, play again. You never know. I don't want to make decisions for him. It's his choice. But it looks like for him, it obviously sucks, right? Nobody wants to break his leg. For North Texas, from a footballing perspective, which let me just say is not as important as the kid's, career and his leg and all that stuff. But it's a huge loss because he looked like a dynamic piece in the backfield. He's a guy that was returning kicks. He looked like you get it to him in space, and he's going to do some damage. He had some pop. He's also kind of biggish. Looked like he could shed a tackle here and there. Uh,
Yeah, he
ra-
was. He's 5'10", 5'10", 210 pounds. He
yeah,
runs with authority.
yeah, and you could see that. And so and then Ragsdale wasn't back to his old self, right? He's coming off an injury. He looked better in spots, but he didn't look like he had the old Ragsdale like pop, whatever. And then in this one, he goes down and he's like rolling around with the again. This is me speculating. The look on his face looked like I've had this kind of thing before. And he was out last year because he tore it was an ACL, right? So he hobbles off the field. No word on him. We don't know what's up with him. He might be back, but that means it's Demaja Harris, and I think you were saying I didn't even know who this guy was, because that means you didn't read the preview, Aldo. But he had 10 carries, 142 yards rushing, including an 80-yard score that broke the game open, turned it from a 28-20 game to a 35-20 game, and sealed the things. Right, SFA couldn't move the ball, and then 15 points was too much for them. He looks good. He's big. Is he like 225 or something like that? But he had a little wiggle to him, and he ran away from SFA. So he's at least good enough to do that. He's RB1 now, and I think that they're gonna have to look like if Ragsdale can't go, obviously Jawan Price is out. It looks like it's gonna be Zach Evans, who hasn't got a sniff of the depth chart. He was there. He was dressed. He gave a high five to
Yeah.
Demarcus Harris. And it's like good run, buddy. But then he proceeded to go, I don't know, sit down or something. I don't know what his story is. Yeah, a lot of people are speculating about that. But please continue.
No, I was gonna agree with you. Yeah, it's strange as somebody who was there a lot last season. Somebody we were expecting to see more of. Um, it's strange not seeing him this season. Maybe that's how good Ragsdale, Price, and Harris have looked like in practice, but we may be seeing him again on the field. I don't know who's behind Evans and Harris now.
Yeah, it was pretty much Ragsdale, Price, and then Demarcus Harris was a little bit of a surprise. If you look at the video game, which I think more people are familiar with than anything, Zach Evans is right there. He's like the number two, and he looks like the dude. Jawan Price is in the game. He's just like the fourth string guy. Um, as it is, I think I like what Harris has, but what he does is dependent on the offensive line, right? So the offensive line is the most important thing. That is my concern. I do like that Jet Duncan was seemingly ready to play and could maybe go versus Tech in a week's time, right? You like the idea of a week there. I think it was similar. I might be wrong on this. I think it was a similar story with Gabe Blair. So you have two potential starter level dudes, guys who have played offensive line for North Texas, coming back into the fold. I don't know what Landon Peterson's deal is. Um, Hopefully he's healthy enough to maybe just be a backup spot, and then you can kind of put Dixon and was it Nelson? I forget the other lineman's name, the right guard, kind of back into that second string level, or maybe they can get spot duty here and there. Um, but I don't know, right? We don't know just yet. The offensive line looks shaky against a talented SFA defensive line, but I think a lot of that came with just inexperience because they were bringing delayed blitzes, delayed rushes, and I'm not. I don't know how North Texas does their protection schemes, but it looks like somebody was missing some things sometimes. They were turning this
Well,
way when they should turn that way, but whatever. Go ahead.
And I think in one instance that I think it led to an interception was the non-blitz. They were showing pressure and then they backed off on the pressure. And I can't remember if it was the lineman or a linebacker that Morris threw it right to him, close to the line of scrimmage. Do you remember that? I think it was the second interception.
Yeah. Hmm.
I don't know if he just didn't see him, but I think Morris was getting frustrated, right? He kept doing this thing. He couldn't see between the gaps, and I don't know what the issue is with that because the line was collapsing or what was going on there. But it was obviously an issue with the line because of the inexperience that we've been harping on. But I think they tried going outside as well, and they were struggling to go outside too. Whether that was Morris not reading a defender. That time where I think it was Hammond, number 27. I can't remember. It was
White,
Hammond
White, young.
Young. Thank you.
Yeah.
Young just got clocked in the duodenum, and he's out there puking on the field. I mean, that getting hit right there sucks. It happened to me playing basketball. I was going up for a rebound, and somebody just hit me, put a shoulder into my stomach, and it feels awful. And I knew exactly what he was feeling. I was going down there. I don't know if he had any other injury like to the ribs or anything like that, but that guy was just coming down bat out of hell and just hit him hard. So Morris needs to be able to see that. There are other times when, like you said, his last read was the running back, and I think one of them there was a couple of times where they were near interceptions, and I think one of them might have turned into one. I don't remember. So the outside was struggling, and then at times the receivers during screens weren't hitting the right assignments on trying to block somebody, and that led to a penalty by Conrad, a block in the back, which that one was ticky tacky, but struggling to block against the defensive backs on the outside. So we were struggling on the inside, struggling on the outside to get movement along the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, Eric Morris called everybody and over to the sideline and gave him a little pep talk. I don't know what it was, um, but it was everybody, right? The line was having some trouble, and all right, freshmen, whatever. But they played football, right? I don't want to say let's make excuses for them. I think if you want to play high level football and you want to be great, you want to have aspirations to play at the next level, then playing Stephen F. Austin shouldn't be an overwhelming experience where you just can't hack it, right? For me, I can't hack it. I can't play offensive line for North Texas. I never could. It would never be a thing for me. But you know what I'm saying? I'm not in that conversation. It's a small conversation, but within that conversation, there are expectations beyond the normal people. You don't compare it just to me and you, podcast guys. You compare it to to other football playing people. People want your gig, right? Um, it was everybody's off, right? Damon Ward Jr. 12 catches, 230 yards, right? He's had if there's a knock on him, it's that he's been like that, right? I remember I was praising him up, hyping him up against UAB because had a great game, and then like the next week, I flip it. It was I was hyping him up against like Western Kentucky, and then the next week he dropped like one or two, right? This one he dropped a wide open one. He had room to run. Again, only one target. Some of that was Morris missing him on a couple, but you know, uh, the standards of your position are if the ball's near you, you got to catch it. If it's on your hip, you got to catch it. If it's on a deep route, not every ball can be perfect. Yeah, you want it to be, but it can't always be, and you got to go make a play. So I felt like Ward was off his own standard, right? He didn't make plays that he can make, he should make. Morris was definitely terrible. He's the signal caller. He's the guy who makes everything go. He left Wyatt Young out to try on that one. Like, I I'd make sure that he has a Starbucks in his hand going to class all day this week. I mean, sorry about that, but I'm a
Carry
little
his backpack. Yeah.
yeah. That was on me, buddy. And then like you said, Conrad, that one was a little ticky tack foul. I thought a lot of other people played well. Like Ragsdale had one where he had a little check release where he turns around, and he was a little slow on it. Morris threw it early, and that's a miscommunication. If that's on Morris too early, that's his fault. If that's on Ragsdale not getting his head around quick enough, that's his fault. But the end result is an incompletion when we need to have completions, right? So, yes, bad. All that was bad. Let's hope that was just getting the uglies out early in the season. Like if you have to have one bad game,
all at once.
yeah,
Yeah.
let's do it against the FCS squad and then still have a 15-point cushion, right? Margin where let's praise the defense. Let's do that, right? Because everybody was is upset. That's why you don't feel good. The offense didn't play well. They still scored 35.
Hold on, hold on.
No,
I'm
no,
I'm
no,
trying to cut.
no,
I'm
no.
trying to come into Ward's defense a little bit.
Oh, you
You
think
know,
wide open passes or it was
he
too
dropped
wide open.
one. What he dropped one. But there were other times. So it's kind of luck, right? It's kind of a bit about luck, where Sheffield broke wide open, or Conrad would break wide open, and he'd get a pass thrown to him on a dime,
Hmm.
and Sheffield 3 touchdowns. Um, and Ward, same thing. He got open multiple times, and the ball wasn't there. The ball was intercepted. The ball was thrown way out of bounds. Um, it was a bad night for
Chandler
Morris.
Morris, yeah.
And everybody, the receivers were still impressive doing what they did. Um, I mean, there's 26 passes to go around that were caught right between those ten receivers, including the running backs. And the hope is that next week that Morris cleans that up a little bit, doesn't panic throw as much as he did, and hits those wide open receivers again. Anyway, we can move on to the
No,
defense now.
I think all that's right. We've seen them play much better than this, and I think if the offensive line, I'm hopeful that by Texas Tech week in Lubbock, we have Duncan, we have maybe Blair, but like the offense, maybe Peterson back. The O line gets cleaned up. I don't know what's going on with Mercer, but maybe we get Dixon a lot more snap practice, right? Like you're not gonna do anything else. You know what I mean? You're just gonna snap the ball just the whole time. Like your friend needs, he's like, hey, can you grab my phone? You need to snap it to him. Just put it on his chest. You know what I mean?
All week long.
Yeah, whatever it is. You gotta turn in the paper in class. Snap it to the teacher, the professor,
Roll of
whatever.
toilet paper.
Yeah. Hey, we're out over here. I got you. Snap it. All right. So, um, here's the thing. So SFA drive chart, right? 15 total drives, zero 70 plus yard drives, 5 3 and outs. They only had three. That's 20% scoring drives, and of those three, one was like a gift field goal. They had one long TD drive. That was the only one. 6 plays, 62 yards, and you look at the numbers. You're like, oh, that's bad. But I saw that North Texas had like three almost sacks. Like of the 15 QB hurries that North Texas had, like three of them came on that one drive. And so yeah, you don't want to be like, well, almost doesn't count. Almost doesn't count. Yes, but that adds up. They were getting to him. They were hitting him. They were hitting that dude as every time he let it go. When he threw the touchdown pass, he got hit. Right, he got knocked on his ass. I don't know if you listen to this in the car, anyway. But he got
With the
knocked out.
children
Yeah. What did he say, Dad?
in his assembly.
He said a donkey. He called it. He said he got knocked on his donkey. Uh, yeah. So like, it'd be funny. All right, kids, it's we're getting rained out. Recess. We're gonna turn it to Mean Green Nation podcast. Listen to these dudes talk about this game. It was punt, 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 right? Punting, and then they went for it like 4 or 5 times. On fourth down, didn't get not a
Yeah,
one. And there was goal lines, short yardage stands. So credit to the defensive line. There were like longish kind of fourth down opportunities, like 4th and 7. Nelson comes up, makes a huge play, huge tackle, keeping the guy short. Just quality defense, the whole squad, right? Interception by Ridge Tejada. They kept challenging him. He was tough. He was a very good cornerback. Just lots of good by the defense. And like I said, I didn't feel uncomfortable at any point in time with the defense. I didn't feel like, oh, here it goes again. SFA only had 248 yards of total offense, 181 yards passing, only 67 rushing. Right, we sacked the dude 3 times. Was it like I said, 15 QB hurries? Guy had no time to do anything. They averaged 3.5 yards per play. Now, if you want to compare to last year, right? Like, how it's SES, ACU, they're a better offense, I think. Um, They averaged like 5.5 yards per play against us, and they scored 31 points last year. Right? They moved the ball a lot better, and we're like, oh man, they had that one receiver, the one that was killing Tech. I forget his name, Mason, whatever. Starts with an M, I think. Uh, Taylor, I think it's Taylor. He was going off. He scored 3 touchdowns against us, but only the one. It was a great play by their dude. That one-handed catch, one-handed snag by Davis. That was his only catch of the game. 33 yards. His yak was 31. It was really, we brought a big blitz. He caught it one-handed, and I think it was Javen Anderson was a little behind him, and then he got outrun, and that was it.
Yeah, I mean that guy number 14 looked like DK Metcalf for sure on that play. Big and fast and
Yeah,
impressive catch.
yeah.
I think Conright might have had his own impressive catch too, similar to
Oh
that.
yeah.
But
Well, see, there's Morris. You can't make an impressive catch if it's on time on target, right? Morris
yeah,
do it like at his jean. If he had cargo pants on, it would have been to that bottom cargo pants area. Yeah.
he seemed surprised that he caught it.
Well, he had to like reach down, like you said, and pop
Yeah,
it up and then catch it. That was a great catch. Yes, I forgot about that one. That was a good
but
memory.
yeah. I mean, at times when we were getting beat, I was feeling frustrated. It seemed like we were slow, getting beat by the receivers. Luckily, they couldn't connect. The quarterback couldn't connect with due to all the pressure that he was getting from the defensive line, which is great. Yeah, I agree with you. It's much improved defense as compared to last year. I mean, the first real test will be next week against Texas Tech, right? We'll get to see it in a more not even matchup, but a more challenging matchup than they've seen so far. But for sure, more aggressive on the front, and you saw that with all the hurries and the sacks, and they weren't just like pushing him down; they were folding him in half, and they were crushing him. And
Do a
I mean,
little
there was one
origami.
that
Yeah.
was targeting that was picked up. I was yelling at the refs. I was yelling obscenities in front of the children at this ref because at this point I'd gotten so frustrated with them. And yeah, I told them to pick that flag up
Well, they listen.
and
They're like, hold on, I'm
they
getting
listened.
word
Yeah.
from the Pacific Northwest. Okay, we got to pick that
They felt the
one.
vibrations.
So
It's like,
yeah,
oh,
that's it in summation, right? Great defensive effort, and again, you can't be like, well, FCS squads basically don't count. They do and they don't, right? Like there's room for error, but you can still evaluate your team on this one. I thought the defense
hmm
played a very good game. Like SFA's quarterback, he's not so great. He's like I think he was not going to be their starter. He won the job because their starter got transferred from Tennessee. He quit. He quit football. He's like, I've been dealing with too many injuries. I'm done. So they're kind of figuring out what's going on there. And yes, he missed some wide open dudes, but that's also the game. Our quarterback missed some wide open dudes, right? If you play that game, you don't play like, well, it was open, so we should get the point. Like you have to complete the pass. That's the game. Um, and you know they'll clean that up. I get our standard, our measuring stick is not, hey, the best defense in the nation. It's can we be league average, right? Can we be middle
can
of
we
the
beat
road?
a FCS squad and keep them below 30 points?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's the defense kept this team at 10 points, right? If we really think about it. That 3 points off of the interception was just a gimme because of how deep the interception occurred. So for me, it's 10 points on the offense, on SFA's offense on their own, and like you said, it's a measuring stick. If we were to have beaten them 55-20, I'd be like, sure, yeah, we did we did what we were supposed to do. This how it's supposed to happen. Um, but when you see the offensive line struggle against an FCS squad, that's when you're like, okay, the glaring issues are coming out. They're overemphasized, um, both on offense on and defense. But then you also see the positive side where the defense did what they were supposed to do against an FCS squad. Still, Chandler Morris, even with all the struggles, threw for career tying a career best for passing touchdowns. So it's not just a silver lining. It's more than a silver lining. We still performed how we were expected to perform. Obviously, overcame the challenge of a poor offensive line. All the bad things that could have happened all in one game. You know, you had a devastating injury to one of your players. You had depleted position group, two depleted position groups for this game, and yet we still came out with the win. So, and Morris was your quarterback is put digging you into pretty bad holes, and so and you're still able to come out with this with the victory, then fine. Even though it doesn't feel good, right? I'm still sitting here and processing this externally, and it don't feel good. I'm trying to convince myself to feel good. We won. Defense looked good. Offense was shaky, and there's a glimmer of hope for the offensive line to be improved for next week, so we can challenge Texas Tech in their own place with those stupid tortillas.
So I will second a couple points there. Like we've had worse quarterback play. Like this was again, 3 interceptions is bad. 4 TDs and 3 interceptions is better. Oh, then did no he didn't. I was gonna say, did he run for one? No, no, I thought it was like close to it, right?
It got called back.
Yeah, that's what it was. It popped in my head. Look, Chandler Morris still leads the conference in touchdown passes. He has 7. The next guy is Kirk Francis at Tulsa with 5. He does the QB rating is kind of weird because you have some guys that have only like they haven't played as many. But he's third in QB rating. Like one guy is only he's played 2 games, but he's only thrown 41 attempts. Like Chandler Morris has thrown 85 attempts, right? He leads in a lot of categories. He leads in completions, attempts at he's at 85. The next guy is 74. He leads in completions. He's at 58. And some guys haven't even attempted 58 passes. His completion percentage is third, and again, he's thrown the most in the conference. He's at 68%. He leads in yards, 737. His yards per attempt are at 8.7. Darian Mensah from Tulane, he's at 13.3. He doesn't throw the ball that much. They just do a lot of deep stuff. So he's still leading the charts. He's still better. And then if you look at like by comparison to like Chandler Rogers last year, Chandler Rogers only attempted about 35 a game. His rating was like 150 for the season. So far, Chandler Morris, even after this bad game, is a higher rating, 161. A lot of that's on the strength of his first game being very good. So a lot of good here, right? I still like Chandler Morris. I still think he's good. The defense went from because we allowed 582 yards to South Alabama, only 250. They're at 415 yards a game. They're at like 5.5 yards allowed per game. Again, over time, we want that's what we want, right? And I always like yards per play because I think that matters more. Like a game situation, you might have more, you might allow more yards, but yards per play this year 5.46 so far. Last year we were at 6.5 yards, right? Very terrible. The best team was SMU at 4.5, but if you look at for a team that's right around 5.5 yards per play, that was like Rice and Florida Atlantic, like sort of that mid-table kind of side, team there. That's
Yeah, it's a
fine.
big improvement.
I'll take that. And I think we're gonna be a little bit better. We'll do a bigger preview of Texas Tech next week or this week sometime. But I'll say this right here: Tech looks poor defensively. They were getting sliced up by ACU, and Abilene Christian has. I mean, they have 2 guys that played for North Texas last year, right? They had Trey Cleveland and Isaiah Johnson. So like it gives you a sense of what they have. They have a former FBS transfer, there's like McIver, their QB. So that's Chandler Morris level right there. And then they have, I think it's like the Taylor kid. They have some good receivers in their depth chart, right? Just about what North Texas has. Not terrible, right? Like so, if you just look at that part, you say, well, hey, North Texas can do some things. Obviously, the big difference is the offensive line. If we have a bunch of freshmen out there that are getting exposed, it's going to change some things. If Chandler Morris is not on his game, that's going to change some things. But I think this experience in this game, the week of practice that they're going to have, gives them a chance to correct those things. Defensively, Tech, like I said, they got smoked by Washington State, which is not even that good because their quarterback can't really throw the ball. He's just a running guy. But they found lots of space, right? There was miscommunications all over. There were miscommunications all over. I like what North Texas can do against that Texas Tech defense. Offensively, Tech can move the ball, but they're a little banged up too. I think Taj Brooks, their running back, ran for like 1,500 yards last year. He was injured or he's a little banged up. Um, they're gonna score a little bit against us. That's what I think, right? Like North Texas didn't suddenly become the best defense in the nation, but I like what we can do against some of them sometimes. The quarterback kind of starts getting jittery. He looks for his check down like I think a little too soon, and he was way off against Washington State. So we might get some gimmies there, and I'll take it.
Well, and you've got established guys like Rod Brown and Rich Tejada, and then you've got up and comers like Starling.
Yeah,
Um, and then we had that transfer from Ole Miss that got hurt, that safety. So, rebuilding the defense, or I don't even know if rebuilding is the right word, but improving the defense, trying to turn it over to what it should be, is going to be a long-term process. This is just year two of this new program and coaching staff, and so it's not going to be instant. It's usually the third year when you start seeing you know significant improvements. And I mean, so far it seems pretty significant on TV, right? As you're watching this unfold or out on the field. Uh, but maybe next year, and I'm not trying to dismiss any kind of accomplishments we might be able to do this year, but I'm trying to be realistic, right? Like you
yeah.
said, it's not going to be the best in the nation instantly. We allowed over 500 to
South
South
Alabama.
Alabama.
Yeah.
But I'm feeling better than I was last year because after watching them against ACU, you're just like, oh gosh, what are we walking into here?
Yeah,
And I don't have that feeling that.
I mean, it's a good snapshot, right? Like I said, there's a lot of talent in FCS squads, right? You can tell that North Texas was not going to be a good defensive team when we played Houston Baptist, now Houston Christian. But that team had like Bailey Zappi and a couple guys ended up going to Western Kentucky and then like setting a record, right? Bailey Zappi was on the team. He was throwing the ball around. We held them, but they looked better than than North Texas. They were moving the ball. Uh, the funny thing is that the Texas Tech coordinator is Kitley, Zach Kitley, the former Western Kentucky guy. I don't think we ever played them while he was coordinating them, but we played against that offense, right? Because they established it, and it was the next guy that did it. Um, but anyway, I think you're right. I like what Rod Brown brings. You can see that the new additions along the defensive line had an impact. I think Dawkins had 5 QB hurries. He was very good in this one. He was very good in against South Alabama. He collapses the pocket. He creates a lot of havoc in there. You can see the push that the defensive line gets. He was a big part of the reason why North Texas was able to get a lot of those 3rd and 1, 3rd and short stops. And like I said, we just need some key stops next week, right? Like Texas Tech is going to score. I don't think that is a question. They're good enough. They're a good offense. They're well coordinated, but we just need some key stops. We don't need easy stuff, right? We need to make them work for it. They need to go deep in their playbook, make their quarterback make decisions, not just like, oh, first read, guys, open, 35 or let's do an inside zone, see if we can shorten up this, this distance,
Second
get
and
this first
10.
down.
Yeah.
But oh, look, it breaks for 67 yards. Well, that was easy, right? You don't have to go too deep in your playbook when inside zones are killing them. So
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
win those, right? Win those, make them go deep. The college players start making mistakes. Yeah, that was it.
One a big criticism I had of the linebackers last year, and this includes Wisloski, is reading the wrong gaps or attacking the gap way too soon. Shooting the alley. because they see something, they go for it, but then they get burned. And this last week, or yet last night, I saw patients, and they were minding their gaps and their assignments, and then attacked when the running back was getting to them. And we held Jones with, I think, last week he got 150 something yards. They were talking him up on the broadcast. I can't remember exactly. He got a lot of yards last week against whoever they played.
Yeah.
And this week he got 8 attempts for 21 yards. So and his longest was 14. So that means, what is that? Seven. He had 7 attempts for 7 yards outside of that 14-yard run. So he did an excellent job of containing him and making sure that he didn't do the same damage he did to whatever
North
school they played
North
last week.
American, yeah, NAIA
Yeah,
school, yeah. I mean, yeah. Again, it's like this game's a little different, but I liked what I saw. Like everybody's gonna make mistakes. When North Texas made mistakes in this one, they left some guys open. But I think in both games, right, against a good offense in South Alabama, and then we'll say a rested offense in SFA with maybe not the greatest quarterback, we forced their quarterback to make bad throws, poor throws, and we hit the quarterback. Like Gio Lopez last week is a bigger dude. He can take some of these hits. What's this guy's name here? Some Vidlak.
Vidlak.
Yeah, Vidlak's not the biggest dude. I mean, he's quarterback size, but he's not Gio Lopez, 6 foot 220. He was like a bowling ball. Um, and you can see it kind of took a toll on him, right? Like he's getting messed up. If we could put some hits on the Texas Tech quarterback, that always changes the game, right? If the quarterback's clean and he has no fear, this is just football 101. It's been this way forever, right? Sid Luckman or something like that. You know what I mean? Like Y.A. Tittle. Somebody if they hit him, he wasn't as good a quarterback way back when. You know what I mean? Like that's how it works. If you're like like that guy hit me and kind of I got slammed on the ground and my shoulder kind of hurts a little bit. Just a little bit, right? Yeah, you're tough football players, all that other stuff, but it's a little harder to make a decision than if you're just I got all day. It's like 7-on-7. Let me just drop that in the bucket there. A little slide this way. Super easy. I love football. It's so fun, right? Versus, let's not call this play, man, because I'm gonna need this guy's gonna hit me. Even just something, or the line's collapsing and they have to throw it and look out because you don't want your hand to hit somebody's helmet. All of those things change the game. If we can force that Texas Tech quarterback to feel uncomfortable, right? He's like, ow, I hurt my hand. Yeah, my shoulder. Rod Brown, like, he knocked me over. That guy's heavy. That.
Football's not fun.
Yeah, the quarterbacks don't get hit all week. They're not used to doing this, right? It's not 1972 where they're like, yeah, whatever, just rub some dirt on it, buddy. It'd be all right.
Smoke a cigarette.
Yeah, it'll make you feel better. They got they're kept clean all week. So you go out there and you start hitting them, making them feel uncomfortable. Changes the game. That's all we need. We do a little of that. I like the chances of Ridge Tejada jumping up there, stealing an interception, stealing a possession. That's what we want. Steal some possessions. We want at least one in each half where we're stealing a possession. And I feel good about what North Texas can do offensively. Like, all things considered. Like I said, the offensive line struggling. It looked to me, like Eric Morris was keeping some guys fresh. And they were like, if there's anybody that can handle it, if there's any time to play freshman lineman, it's now against SFA. So let's see what they have. I feel like there was a little bit of that there.
Sure.
Now, that said, starting next week is when we're gonna play some dudes. Like we're gonna need some depth at the very least, just because we're not gonna have any more linemen. We can't have guards playing every position.
Can't put Landon Sides in at
Yeah,
center.
yeah. It's like, hey Oscar, I don't know, you're gonna play offensive tackle this week, by the way. Like, it just you're gonna need some depth. But the other part, because you mentioned this, I want to respond to it. I think it's a good point. Is that this is the nature of football, right? Football is a violent sport, and you have 85 scholarships and a lot of roster spots because you're gonna need them. You can't expect somebody to not be. I mean, to Travis Hunter it and play 93% of the snaps, right? It's not gonna happen, right? It's the reason we're like, man, Travis Hunter's good. He's playing all the snaps, but he's also playing wide receiver and cornerback, right? He's not playing offensive line and defensive line. Just a different game, and you need some depth, and you know this as part of the thing, right? When you're recruiting, you're building your roster. You're like, do we need another lineman? Like, yes, no. What about injuries? Can this guy play? You think about your practice plan so that way you can get everybody enough reps that way. So that way they're not out there and like, I have no idea what this play is about. I know you said words to me, but they don't mean anything in my brain, and this guy looks like he wants to hurt me. Like you don't want that situation, You want him to know and be able to execute. So, uh, that's Eric Morse's problem solution. He gets paid a couple $1 million to think about it right now. I'm gonna go eat some donuts and then I'm gonna go play a little rec league, and Eric Morse is gonna have to watch film, right? And then
Yeah,
figure out
I'm
what's
gonna go
going on.
sit down on the couch 5 feet away and throw on some red zone. That'll be my day.
Yeah, yeah. I forgot. Like you get to watch like football. Like the noon game is like what 10 a.m. for you.
10 a.m. Yeah,
Jeez,
that's
look,
nice.
look at this guy.
Eat some breakfast, watch some football. It's
Yeah,
great.
look, a win. It's much better complaining about a 2-0 start. Like we're 2-0, but how 2-0 are we? This is more fun. So if you're looking for parallels, by the way, we blew out uh, SMU. Like it was like 46-13 in 2018. Last time we started 2-0. Then we blew out Incarnate Word. Eric Morris. Eric Morris is talking the same kind of noise. That was when I interviewed him too. I went to talk to him, see what's going on. And then we blew them out. It was like 58-13. We killed them, but they were being aggressive. He was going for it on fourth, and they did an onside kick or something like that. And then Arkansas, the team we beat, this is the year we beat Arkansas, right? We went to Arkansas and we whooped them up. It was like 42 to whatever it was. Arkansas was started slow. They blew out Eastern Illinois, I think it was. They put up 50 points against them. They lost to Colorado State though, and it was like 27-34. And then, womp. They they got beat. I
Who was the coach?
Morris, yeah. Chandler's
Yeah,
dad.
Chad Morris.
Yeah, he remembers the whole thing about it. Yeah, he's like, but yeah,
And was Chad Morris the coach at SMU in 2018?
no, he could only coach one team. He was the coach at
I
Arkansas.
can't remember if he went from there to
Yeah, yeah,
Arkansas
yeah,
at that
yeah,
point.
yeah. He had done. That's what I'm saying. Is that like he was the Arkansas coach. He lost that game, but he had left SMU the year before, or was it a couple years before, whatever it was, to
Mhm.
go to Arkansas. But yeah, so that year we beat our. The thing about that 2018 season, it was so amazing, right? That start, we started out 3-0. We beat an SEC squad in their house, right, in Arkansas. But that's also the attendance wasn't great. It was not great for Incarnate Word, but that's also the year we had the packed house for Louisiana Tech, right? It was
Mhm.
that season. That's the year it was. You and I were there. We saw the block. We heard the thump. Poof.
Heard it.
Yeah, and that season just kind of unwound. It was started so great. That offense was great. Mason Fine was great. It was clicking, but then it kind of fell apart because the dude from SFA, right, or was he ACU, the running back? I can't remember his name now. But he was hurt because he was killing things for a little bit. Let me find it real quick because it's gonna bother me. Looking for North Texas, 2018 running back, Lauren Easley. Yeah, that's who it was.
Easily, yeah.
So he got hurt against Louisiana Tech. We couldn't run the ball. We got corner got injured. They were picking on us, and they came back because we were up 21-0 or something like that, or we were up a couple touchdowns. Same thing happened against UAB, and then we let Charlotte come back, and then we ultimately got blown out in a bowl game. I think it was to Utah State. Yeah. That coach ended up going to Texas Tech, and then he brought with him the current, I think the Texas Tech head coach. I think it was.
I don't remember.
One of them. I'm starting to mix things up. No, the current ACU head coach is what I'm thinking of.
Ah.
Anyway, long story short, that 2018 season, we started out 4-0, right? A lot of parallels. Beat an FBS squad, beat an FCS squad, and then go to an SEC team and win over there. This year, one FBS, FCS, and we go to Big 12 squad, and that's struggling. Same way Arkansas. That Arkansas team ended up being 0-8 in conference. They were very bad. This Texas Tech team had designs on winning the Big 12 or competing, but they don't look so great.
They
Anyway.
To be fair, this Texas Tech squad is not as bad as that Arkansas squad was. I
Yeah.
just don't want to set up any kind of like expectations of.
No, yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting. There's parallels there, but there's a difference. That 2018 North Texas squad looked very good. We whooped up on SMU, right? It was 46-13, whatever it was. The defense was good. The offense was clicking. Like that was a
Offensive
very
line was amazing.
yeah. That I love that 2018 team. That it was so good. Like 2017, we played so well, but a lot of it was like, yeah, we kind of got lucky here and there. That 2018 team was good. The defense was clicking. Mason Fine was dealing. We had all of the options. It was a very good squad, and I think injuries and some bad luck took the toll. But I think that one up to a certain point, we had only trailed for like 15 minutes total or something like that, or something ridiculous. It was like them and North Texas and Alabama were the only two teams because we led the whole game against Louisiana Tech until they kicked the field goal to win it, and then we were leading against UAB 21-10 going in halftime, and then we lost that lead. It was an unlucky season. I like that 2018 season for a lot of reasons, but I also don't like it for a lot of other reasons. It's the flip side of
Bringing
it.
back bad memories.
Yeah, but we started out 4-0. This I'd rather be lucky, and that's what my point is, right? That 2017 season, that team was not as good as 2018, but that 2017 team had a better, more memorable year, I think. People were like, "Oh yeah, there was like this one," that. But the 2018 team was better. It was just like if you took the team that beat Arkansas against the team that beat like UTSA or whatever it was, 2018 team just whoops them. I think they just kill them. They were just so good. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I'd rather be lucky. I'd rather be lucky in against Texas Tech. If we like fall on our faces and fart our way into touchdowns to win the game, I'll take it, man. I'd rather that than like, wow, what he looked so good, but they just came up short. No thanks.
Yeah, I need to call an interception at some point in that game too.
Final thought about the whole thing. Notre Dame lost. LSU looked weak against Nichols. It was 23-21 late in the third in that one. Alabama looked weak against USF. It was like 16-14 late in the third in that one also. Um, like UTSA got destroyed by Texas State, and they were favorites in that game. All across the nation, there were some crazy games, upsets, near upsets, poor
Weird
wins.
Saturday.
Yeah, it happens all the time. So don't feel too bad about this. Don't apologize for wins. At 35-20, it's all about did North Texas win, and then North touchdown North Texas, and then first down North Texas. It's those things. Did we get a first down? Did we score a touchdown? Did we win the game? Those are the only things that matter, right? And then the flip side defensively, we won. It doesn't matter. So go Mean Green.
Go Mean Green.
Recording stopped.